Okay, so welcome back. Today we have Greg Bartholomy on the podcast. He is an owner of GB Electric Services in Charlotte area. So, Greg, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Jerry.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring you on here and just kind of talk about your life and a little bit about your business. So, to get started, what do you do today, and what is your life like today?
Today, I'm an electrical contractor, and I own a service repair electrical contracting company. We, we live here in Mint Hill, North Carolina. I've got a good crew of people, and it's been, I don't know, I guess it's just been pretty interesting as far as the whole journey of how I got here and just the whole business aspect of creating, I don't know, a business, which has been, if you know nothing about business and you're just kind of falling into it, it's been interesting. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It started.
Yeah, and I noticed like on LinkedIn you have, I think from LinkedIn or somewhere online, I found some information on you as far as when you got into the electrical business. Seems like you've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah, I started in the electrical business in like 91, pretty much. And so I started in Rhode Island. That's where I'm from. I went to a technical college up there once I got out of high school. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. And then I got into working for an individual, Corbeil Associates, And I remember getting hired from that guy, and it was just kind of interesting. He just had me meet him at this like empty mill that was just pretty much vacant, and they were starting to move things in. I had no idea what it was. I was just in there for a job interview, and he said, "Is this the kind of work?" He showed up. He says, "Is this the kind of work you want to do?" I had no idea what he was doing. I was like, "Yep, this is what I want to do. What are we doing?" And then he just kind of walked me through this. It seemed like an massive facility, and he said, "Oh, we're going to change all the lights in this place. We got to wire all the machinery. We got to do all this stuff." So it was mostly industrial manufacturing machinery that we were going to do. And so I spent 6 years with him, and I specifically 3 years in that building, just wiring machinery that built textiles, shoelaces, cargo nets, all kinds of things, So I really enjoyed that. And then from there, I left there and I went to go work for a really large electrical contractor, where the work was just really big work. So wherever there was a tower crane, that's the size project that I was on. Just like convention centers, schools, just brand new huge buildings up out of the ground. So I worked for them for about 8 years. So I worked for them about 5 years up north in the Rhode Island and Boston area, and then I took a job transfer with them, and I came down here for about 3.5 years, and I worked with them down here as well. So we worked on, like the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, wastewater treatment plants, just big work. And then there was at one point in time where I just decided, hey, look, I think I want to try this thing on my own, and that's kind of where I started. I just decided, hey, me in a pickup truck by myself, and it was just, I had no business plan. My business plan was, this is the date I'm going to quit, and I'm going to take like 2 weeks off, and then I'm going to start looking for work. Well, I was only able to take about 3 days off. I found work, and it's just been to the grind ever since.
What was your motivation to start your own business?
I think motivation, part of it was money, first of all, because I knew where I was. There seemed to be like a limit, and then the culture in the company that I had left, it really wasn't that great, and I really wasn't able to see myself being able to grow, because it would take a new like leadership type of position in the company, and I just felt as though that the leadership that was there didn't really have my back. When you're about to start something new and start running bigger projects and start doing something a little different other than just doing electrical work, it requires some new skills, and I didn't know that they really didn't have the patience for me, and I didn't know I had the patience for them to be able to advance in that way, and it really wasn't a good fit. So I just figured, hey, look, I can either go work for another company, or I can also just try and just do this thing myself, and just go out there. And I enjoyed service work more than I did, the big construction work anyhow. So I figured I'd give it a shot,
Okay. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about your work and your business. But going back to when you were younger, when you were in high school or middle school, who were you like? What was your personality like? And what was your circle of people, friends like?
I guess I really wasn't much into sports, as far as for the traditional ones or anything. I basically, I rode my bike. That's pretty much my big thing that I did. So, it wasn't big back in the day when I was young, but it's kind of like X Games now, where it's the big quarter pipe ramps and things like that. So, I was one of the few that actually had those ramps in my backyard. So, and that's what I did, and I really enjoyed that. You know, did a couple shows, did some competitions and stuff like that, but mostly just enjoyment for myself, and that was pretty much what I did.
So like BMX kind of bikes, or like the pedal bikes? Or?
Well, yeah, the pedal bikes, yeah, they're like BMX, so they're more referred to as like freestyle bicycles, and
so a lot of wheelies and such.
yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff, So, but again, I was more not so much into the groundwork, the tricks just on the ground, but I liked more of the ramps, and so I pretty much I excelled more on that. So that's pretty much what I did as the youth, and and then it's just funny because once you get your driver's license, it's kind of like unpopular to keep riding your bicycle in one aspect. But I wasn't riding it traditional like everyone else, but I kept doing it into my 20s, and that's and I really enjoyed doing that part. So. So that's kind of where I was. And then as far as, the family dynamic at that point in time, again, I didn't know I wanted to be an electrician or anything like that. It was just more or less didn't know what I wanted to do, like most people today, younger generation. They have no clue what they want to do. I didn't have anyone in my family that worked in the trades or anything like that. So everyone in my household went to work in a suit and tie, pretty much. Kind of one of those things.
So were you kind of pushed into like, oh, you got to go to college and get a degree and that kind of thing, or?
Yeah. It's not so much that my parents pushed me that way because that's what they wanted for me. It was just because, well, I haven't made up my own mind. So it's like anything else. I look back at it now, and it's kind of like, maybe with your kids, they're young and they don't know. Maybe you get them into karate, or maybe you get them into soccer, and you find out that, maybe there's things that they don't like, but you just try them out. You just try them out to see what it is they do like, because they don't know. And I think that's kind of what my parents had done too. They were like, oh, go in the medical field. You'll do wonderful. You'll always have a job. It's job security, and you'll make good money and everything else. So, so I had worked for 1 year at the VA hospital in Rhode Island as a pharmacy technician. So I worked there. It was okay. I really didn't care too much for the environment. The people were great, but it just really wasn't my thing, I guess, from there I started to go to community college, prerequisites, microbiology, anatomy, all that kind of stuff. And I was planning on going for like respiratory therapy. And then again, I don't know, I just didn't really, it was something to do, and I just figured I'd do it, but I didn't really have a huge passion for it. So at that time, while I was going to college, I was also working for a good friend of mine who was a general contractor, a small general contractor. He did, kitchen, bathroom remodels. He built custom kitchen cabinets. So he had a whole woodworking shop. And so I would just go work with him and that was like my part-time job between, hey, look, I got to go to school, and school hours are really weird. And then, I still want to, ride my bike, and I still want to do other things. So, a traditional job wasn't really, I still had to work. So working for him was really good because I could work when I wanted to and not when I wanted to. But what I found out from there is I really enjoyed that, hey, work's not at the same place every single day. And I also enjoyed working with my hands and doing things, I don't really think that, my brother and my father really had that kind of in their family. That really wasn't their thing. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
they're both into computers and programmers and all kinds of things like that. But that's not where I really was. So I guess for me, I really enjoyed that part of going out, working with my hands and just being able to have work at a different place every single day and some sort of new challenge, something that I've never done before. And I really started to enjoy that. But at the same time, it's not really what I wanted to do. And I still didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And so I stopped to think about it for a while, how can I do this? Work someplace almost every day, not in the same place, not maybe the same exact thing, and then also make a living out of it. And at one point in time, I realized that I really enjoyed wiring car stereos. That was a thing back then too, the big, loud, obnoxious car stereos, and I really enjoyed that. But there was no money in it. There was absolutely no money in it whatsoever. So I was at least realistic with that. It's sad to say that there are some people today that get huge college degrees. Expensively huge college degrees, and it's like, now that you got that degree, what's it going to earn you? You know what I mean? And I don't think the people look past that. But looking at that for myself, I was like, yeah, I got to do something else. So I didn't even know how to change a receptacle on the wall. Didn't have anyone that brought me out that did electrical work or anything else like that. But it would just clicked, and it was like, that's what I wanted to do. So I just signed up for community college and went there and started learning.
So you signed up for like electrical kind of work or degree at the community college?
Yeah, it was a New England Institute of Technology out in Warwick, Rhode Island. And it was an 18-month, college program that was specifically designed around doing electrical. So, there was so much time in residential and commercial and industrial and all the theory and everything else that went behind it. So.
Okay. And at that time, did you have like mentors or people you looked up to or people that gave you advice on life or what you should do, shouldn't do, or how you should figure out what you want to do? Anything like that?
I think as far as for people that were, I try to think about who was really a mentor in one aspect. I mean, I had a lot of positive people around me that were like, yeah, going into the electrical trade, I was, first of all, a little surprised, at one aspect that my parents were like, yeah, go for it. This is really good, because not that I didn't think that they wouldn't be supportive, but, I think maybe they were just happy that I actually chose something to go do. So that was good and encouraging that, I had my family that supported me in doing this. As far as for a specific mentor or something specifically.
Or did you like seek out any, whether it's person, whether it's like a book or anything okay, how can I figure out what do I really want to do in life and kind of narrow it down to electrical? Like, was there a process to that, or was it more kind of circumstantial? Like, you started working in that one company and one thing led to another? Or?
I guess it was probably circumstantial because, again, even though I learned all the theory, that I needed to, and the community college. I mean, the college. It's not a community college, but, you started going out to work, and you were literally learning something every single day of my entire apprenticeship, and it was really cool because you got to work with, small company, but yet big enough, about 10 employees. So being able to work with as many different electricians as possible, you got their different take on how to install different things or how to do certain things. And it was, so I had like a lot of mentors, I guess you could say, in the electrical field, that had helped me out and that I was able to learn from. So there's been a lot of really good people that I've absolutely, had the pleasure of working with in order to be able to create, get me where I'm at.
And it sounds like you like to learn kind of by doing, right? Like not necessarily just reading about something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I guess, you know, you say reading. The one interesting thing, I guess, about me that, you know, most people don't know is, you know, I've got dyslexia, right? So, and a lot of people are like, well, what does that mean or anything else? There are just certain things that, you know, are more challenging for people with dyslexia. And one of them is I've never read a book in my life. I've never read a complete book in my entire life. I listen to audiobooks, and it's not that I can't read. It's not that you're, you know, you just, you can't. Like, I can read, and my attention span is about enough for, like, newspaper articles, magazine articles, instruction manuals, that kind of thing. But for me to be able to pick a book up, start reading, and then say, oh, I'm going to put it down, then come back and pick it back up, well, I've completely forgotten everything that I read, and I got to start all over from scratch. So, so it's a little different for me. But, yeah, a lot of audiobooks, you know. So this is what I've done.
Does that create a challenge for you in terms of kind of learning, or how do you go about learning in that case, like with dyslexia?
You know, again, it's just it's different. I think that again, I retain a lot more with listening. So you know, if I can get a book, I just get it on audiobook, and that's pretty much the biggest thing for me. You know, is pretty much that. You know, so that's. I don't think it's a huge limitation or anything, but it's very strange, though. It's surprising how many electricians have dyslexia, though. They run into. I don't know if that's like the red car effect, where it's like, you know,
could be.
I got, you know, I don't know, but you know,
yeah,
you know, but that's, I mean, because of having that, you know, hey, look, I was always, you know, lower in all the, I guess, lower grade classes. You know what I mean? Because of it's kind of like a learning disability in one aspect. So. You know, but no, I mean, still graduated, you know, high school, still got out and still did my own thing. But, you know, but as far as for learning, like sitting behind a desk and, I'm a visual learner is pretty much what it is, but doing it the other way, it's a lot of like over your head and it doesn't really compute a lot. So, you know,
did that, like having dyslexia and maybe having people, kind of treat you differently, did that give you more motivation to outperform, do you think?
I don't know that it really did or didn't. I think that one thing is once I chose the field that I wanted to go in and I was more like passionate or motivated about being an electrician, you know, it's kind of like I willed myself to go through school and make sure that I made it through. You know what I mean? It seemed like, you know, let's face it, you know, elementary, middle, and high school, you know, you don't really get to pick what you get. You know, you're kind of like, you're stuck. This is what you got to learn. And it can be really boring at times and just kind of like, when am I ever going to use this? You know, when am I ever going to, you know, need to know how to find the the square root of the quadratic formula. What is that for? You know? So, you know, it's boring. So it's like, yeah, okay, it's like Simon Says, and you'll learn how to do those math equations based on, okay, this is the structure and this is how you do it, just to do it to pass the test. And granted, and then you forget about it, but you don't really learn what is this for, you know? And at least, you know, with math and things like that evolve with like electricity, it all makes sense. There's something to correlate why these numbers add up to, or, you know, to what they need to be. And, you know, you put things into practice is, you know, yeah, you'll remember those things. But abstract things are just kind of like,
yeah, yeah. If you don't understand, not that you don't understand, but like if you don't connect the why behind something, then it's like not as useful to us. Like if we don't know why we're learning this or that, or how it's applicable to our lives, then it's like, I just need to learn it to pass the grade and move on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, so you graduated from college. And then you mentioned in the beginning how you kind of started working in the electrical field, moved down here. But through that process, you're married now, right? So,
yes.
like, how did you get to, got married? Do you have children? Or
yes.
And then kind of like, what was your family life like through that whole process?
Holy cow. Okay. Well, the family life was, I was married before and then divorced, and we had kids together. And then I got remarried while I was still up in the Rhode Island area. And So me and my wife Nikki, we moved down here, and then my son moved with me. He's still with me now, and then from there, I've got one daughter who's still up in the Rhode Island area. She's married and children already. So, but as far as for where we're at right now at home down here in the South is, I got my son who still lives with me. And then I've got 3 more daughters. So, and the 3 of those, we adopted them through Mecklenburg County, and we were foster parents, and so, with kids in and out of the house, we've been able to help out. Well, 3 of them stayed. So, and we adopted 3. Actually, our last one was just actually adopted, probably about within the last month, actually. So, so yeah, so so that was pretty interesting.
So what is life like having adopted children? And I don't know if you have like more of a blended family. I don't know if your current wife has any children from before or anything.
No,
like that,
she doesn't. No. She doesn't have any kids at all. So she wasn't able to have children, and she was a foster parent. I'm sorry, a foster child, and that was something that she really wanted to do. And she was like, well, let's just, I wouldn't mind adopting. That's what she wanted to do, is adopt. But at the same time, she also wanted to foster as well. And that was an interesting endeavor too, because you go through these classes through Mecklenburg County. It's like a 40-hour class that you got to go through. It's like group therapy almost. It's like these people get to know you really, really well before they ever place children in your house, which is pretty cool, But so we go through that, and our plan was to probably take teenagers in, And so at the time, my wife was stay at home, and I was out working, and so they called her up one day, and they were like, "Would you want to take a baby?" And they were like, "I don't. It's not really what we're planning for. So, what is that? Like, I don't know. Tell me a little bit more about that." Like, well, we have a child that came into care. And as soon as they come into care, they go straight to the hospital because they get completely checked out, make sure that, it is what it is, But this child is, she was only like a couple of weeks old, and that's it. So, and they were like, would you like to foster a baby? And we were like, all right, we're not set up for this right now. There was, we got nothing set up for them at all. And we were like, we decided, we're like, sure, why not? Let's try this out. Why not? And they were like, great. Come down to the hospital in a couple of hours and come pick up the child. Wow. I was like, oh, okay. We got no car seat. So we had friends that said, here, borrow a car seat and go get her. Okay. All right. So we go down to the hospital, and she comes with one bottle, and she's got this one little one-piece onesie outfit on, it's basically just like a T-shirt. And that's it. Good luck. No diapers, no formula, no nothing. Oh, here's a $200 gift card to Target. Good luck. Yeah. And that's how it all started. And so that was like really interesting. So,
is that the child that you guys adopted?
Yeah, she's actually today. She's 16, and she is. She's driving now. So, yes. So we fostered. We took her on as a foster, and then one thing led to another, and the whole goal is unification with the parent. So that's what we go for. Parent has a list of things they need to do, and if it doesn't happen, well then the child doesn't go back, and it's up for and they're up for adoption. So at that point in time, this whole process takes about a year. You got about a year to get yourself together, and they give you more than enough tries, and they give and Mecklenburg County gives them lots of resources and all the help that they could possibly have. And if it still doesn't work out, well, they want some stability for this child. So you got 1 year. And after it came up, and it was like, then the parental rights were terminated, and then we had basically the first dibs, I guess you could say. I'd say, you want to adopt or not? And we were like, yeah, absolutely, we'll definitely adopt her. So that was Jenna, and so like I said, yeah, so she is 16 and driving now. So that was our first one. So that was
Yeah.
that was pretty interesting. We had some other kids that came in our house, and they were able to get reunified, or or they needed some. And we had one child that needed a little bit more help than what we could deal with, because we weren't at that place in training for certain things that kids need. So so that there are certain areas. But we've had a few kids in and out of the house, and they were reunified with their parents too, and which came out really well. And then we had Katie, who came into our life, and she was about the same thing, just a couple weeks old, and she came into our life, and we fostered, and things didn't work out with mom and dad, but the grandparents were very involved, and today we're actually very involved with them right now, even today. So they're kind of like an extended family already. So, which has been really, really cool. Yeah. So Katie and Katie is 13 now. So,
and she came in young as well, like as a baby.
Yes. Yeah. At that point in time, we figured, okay, we're kind of done. I think we're done. We don't, no more kids. And we didn't do, we had stopped fostering at that point in time, because now all of a sudden, I got my son, we got the two girls, and it's starting to get to be handful already, So we were like all done. And then what ended up happening, how we ended up with Maddie is, Jenna, my oldest one, who's now 16, her mom ended up having another child, and we had contact with that mother. You can choose once you get adopted. You can, once we adopt, we can choose whether or not we want a relationship with past or not or anything, and we would probably visit with them, with Jenna's biological mother, maybe about once a year. That's really about it. She's had some quite challenges in her life, and so when she was pregnant again and she had the baby, it didn't end up, she didn't leave the hospital. She thought she was going to leave the hospital with the child, but there were a lot of extenuating circumstances where the hospital saw a lot of red flags where they were like, nope. So she, they said, do you have someone that, the baby can stay with? So, and they said, they chose us, and they said yes. In the meantime, while I work a plan, I would like, the baby to go with us, me and my wife. So we accepted, and we was like, yeah, absolutely, But again, things didn't end up working out. So she lost the rights again, and it was just a matter of, well, she's up for adoption. So we were like, we'll adopt her.
So they're sisters. So
they're sisters. Yep. They're half sisters. So yep. So, yeah. But yeah.
So what's it like from your and your wife's side? Like, what's it like having these children in your house? I mean, eventually you adopt them, so they're yours, but they're not naturally yours. So like, what is that like psychological dynamic with that?
And that's an interesting one, because I know I get a lot of people that ask that, and I know that they're very curious about it. And, and I get some other people sometimes that say, oh, you're such a fantastic person for doing that. You're so awesome and everything else. And for me personally, and even my wife, we're just kind of like, it's kind of weird. It's weird because it's like, I know you don't get this if you've never had children that were adopted or anything, but they become your own. It's like they are your own, and you have that bond and attachment with them, as if you bore them yourself. You know what I mean? So so for us, it's like me turning around to you and saying, "Oh, you have children? Oh, you're such a fantastic person for having those kids." It's like it's really the same thing. So it's just kind of weird when people. It's like not really. It is a little weird when people start saying, "Oh, you're a fantastic person for doing it." Well, it's like it's my kids, and I don't see them any other way. It's not. The redheaded stepchild. You know what I mean? You don't treat them any differently than as if they were biologically yours or not.
I think in that case, it's more of like yours and your wife's selflessness. Like when you have your own kids, I mean, you choose to have kids, or accidents happen, or whatever, whatever it is, right? But then they're there. You have to take care of them. That's like natural. Like okay, they're yours. You better take care of them. But when you take on somebody else's kids, it goes beyond like like it goes into a level of like, I want to go beyond whatever I have to take care of that I'm required to. I'm willing to go and do something extra. I'm bringing somebody else's kids and take care of them and treat them as mine, and then eventually they become mine. So it seems like there's more like selflessness to it. So I think that's where the
right. Yeah. I guess I can I can see that obligation that wasn't like you chose versus it was an accident or something
Right.
else, or I've got to take responsibility because you know what I mean. It's like I get it, but I don't know. I guess you know me and my wife are just definitely on that wavelength. As far as for being able to help people out.
Yeah, and that's definitely a great thing. Like we need more people like you. Yeah. Okay. So you definitely have a unique family dynamic, unique in the sense of like fostering children and then adopting and so on. Not a so-called normal, like average type of family in a good way.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always different. You see the family picture of us, and you're just kind of like, huh? What's that thing? It's funny. My wife would tell me sometimes, when the kids were a little small and she would like walk through the mall and stuff like that. She was like, it's kind of funny, but I can see it on people's faces. It's like, here I am, the way I look, and then of course I've got this little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl and a little brown girl, and you know what I mean. And people are looking at me weird, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess you get around or something." You know what I mean? They're all calling you mom, and it's just kind of like, no, it's not that way, But yeah, it's
Yeah.
you know.
So a little bit more about kind of aspect of your life when going from high school to now. What have you learned about managing money, like as far as kind of life lessons that you would want to share with especially younger people out there that are kind of in the beginning of their path? What should they do to manage their money well?
Manage their money well. Well, I would pretty much say pay attention to it first of all. Money, just like being in business for yourself. If you track things and you pay attention to it, it tends to stick around longer, or it tends to work out better for you. If you track things, having a budget, that kind of thing. I would pretty much tell people, if you're just starting out in life, I know that it can be tough because it's like there's just not enough money. Things are so expensive, and what little I have, it's like I just want to blow it and go out to the movies, or I want to go and just, enjoy myself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, there's, you got to put limits on it, and you got to have plans, because if you don't plan right now, it's going to be difficult to get where you want in the future. And it things don't happen overnight. I mean, I think that a lot of people are just like, hey, look, here's the Amazon truck. I want it. There you go. There's Amazon. You know what I mean? Well, saving up for a down payment on a house doesn't happen that way. Also, asking a lot of questions. If you choose to want to buy a house or something else like that, you know what? You just got to ask questions. Don't assume anything. Don't assume I can't afford it. It's more or less how can I afford it, and being able to ask questions is really what I would probably say. Coming up with a budget would also be a very wise thing to do, so that you know where you are, and then it'll help you to make future decisions, whether maybe I should not stay where I am, maybe I should look for a different job or a different career. Always look ahead of where you want to be and plan to be there. That will help out a lot. I see it too often where it's like, you spent how much money to go to college for a history degree? Where are you going to go with that? I'm just curious. I mean, it's like, and they're passionate about it and they really want it, and that's just something that they're into. I get it, but where are you going to go with that? What I mean? And the other part is that, where's that career going to take you? Are you okay with moving away from home? Are you okay because you may have to relocate because the position you're taking, might require you to move. Are you okay with that? I mean, it's just, again, I think it's just planning and budgeting and asking a lot of questions and inquiring people that look at where this person is today, and how did you get there, and asking that person, and I don't think that people probably do that as much, but I think that the best mentor you can have is asking somebody who you already know is where you want to be in the future and how to get there. That's kind of what I would say.
And I believe your wife was helping you out with your business a little bit, right? Or a lot, I don't know.
In the beginning,
okay.
She was like, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, yeah, you can help me out. We can do this business thing together on, as far as for, the whole doing the electrical part. And she was like, look, I'm not going to be answering phones. I'm not going to be doing any day-to-day business kind of stuff. This is your dream. This is what you want to do. This is really not what I want to do. I will help you. She's super organized person. She's really good with the computer. She can, I will help you make forms. I will help you, put things in place so that you can run the business. I am not pulling permits. I'm not talking to people on the phone. I'm not doing all that stuff, but I will help you to put things in place to do that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, that's not a problem. So, so she did. And the other stipulation was, look, you got to be home for supper at least 4 nights a week. All right. Your day has to end at a certain time. This is not going to, and I'm like, because she's like, I can see where this can go. It can be good, but it's also going to be very time consuming.
Yeah. So how do you balance that? Like, so-called work-life balance, like between being an entrepreneur and going out there doing the work that you need to do as an electrician, and then having a family, spending time with the family. What does that balance look like?
Well, that balance has come from experience. That balance is, at first it was like, hey, look, I'll start at like 8 a.m. I'm out the door. I'll be home by 5. And then the kids were small at one time. And when they were, it was like, all right, have some family time, have supper. And then after that, they would go to bed around 8:30. And then after that, I was back in the office doing, writing up the proposals and doing the estimates and pulling permits and sending out insurance certificates. And I would do all the office stuff at night. And so I would be bogged down for at least 2.5 hours every single night. And I did that for a couple of years. And so what I learned is that you start getting burnt out. And when you start getting burnt out, things have to change. So, it was put to me at one point in time, because when you're a business owner, you're doing everything. You are estimator, you are purchasing, you are the chief financial officer, you are the CEO, you're the ditch digging apprentice. You're everyone. You wear every single hat in the company. Marketing, HR. You do everything. So it was basically said that, hey, look, you know what you need to do? You need to become a quitter. That's what you need to do. Quit doing your own books. Quit doing, all these different tasks. And you need to take these hats off because you're wearing every single hat. And you need to start putting hats on other people and hiring other people to do this kind of stuff. Because you're never going to grow. You're going to burn out. And especially if you want to scale or get bigger, you're going to have to start trusting other people and putting people in place, and so that's what I did. It's a matter of now just overseeing the marketing and having someone else doing it. You don't do your own books, don't do your own payroll. Okay. That's one thing I absolutely learned. I had to write the government a check with lots of zeros at the end of it because I messed that up, That's much like surgery, don't do it yourself. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So pay people to do things, and you just need to make sure that you're making enough money to start paying people to do these things. And that's really the best thing that I had learned. And at first I didn't do that, and not because I'm not a micromanager, and I'm absolutely nowhere near that. But I just didn't know when to give things away and when to do certain things. So my wife helped me out a little bit with that. So it was like, you need someone in the office, to answer the phones and to do some of this stuff so you can get your nights back, So it was like, all right, what's this person going to do? Let's hire a mom that's going to do like part-time things. You know what I mean? And I don't really know it. There's no manual. There's no nothing. Everything's in my head. How to pull a permit. Where do you go on the computer? How do you fill it out? All these things. How to build out the calendar. All this stuff is in my head. So I was like, all right, hire someone part-time and let's get all this stuff done there. And then it quickly went from, once I hired someone to do that, they were full-time almost instantaneously, because you don't realize how many things actually I should have been doing that I wasn't doing, and so, this person's like now like replying to emails and doing all the things while I'm out in the field doing the work. So it helps out quite a bit. And it was, you didn't realize, again, how much you really needed that help. But again, you don't really have systems in place. I'm an electrician. I'm not a business person to try and figure out all this, marketing stuff and answering the phone and doing all this other stuff is not what I do. I just want to put the tools on and go to work.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. So, so it's been a lot of diversification.
Yeah.
Trying to...
So how, it seems like every person, when they start their business, they have it's almost like a path of going one way or the other. Being one way is, I just want to work for myself. I don't want to answer to anybody. I just do my work. Don't interact with anybody other than customers, and that's it. Like, don't want a boss. Don't want to scale. Don't want to do anything other than just make some money, make a decent living, and move forward. Versus the other path is like, well, I want to start my business, but then I want to scale. I want to become a big business, have other people working, doing things for me or for the business, grow it, move into other areas, and things like that. What have you decided, or have you had those kind of thoughts going one way or the other way, and how did you kind of rationalize between those two paths?
Well, good question. I think that, at first, when you go into business for yourself, it's all about, I want freedom. Yeah, well, that's a total misconception. There's not much freedom. It's you just signed up to work overtime for no extra pay. Okay, but why did I do what I do, and why does this happen? I really enjoyed helping people with their electrical issues and their problems. It's the service work part, and I really enjoyed working with people and helping them to solve their problems and getting them to where they wanted to be. I enjoyed that part a lot, and then as far as for, like, how big do I want to get, well, that really, you really got to stop and think about, well, you could always make more money, right? How much money will make you happy, how much money do you need to make, I look at my old boss, the guy that I used to work for, that, had very few conversations with him because he had 1,000 electricians employed, massive, huge company. And I'm sure he's a busy guy, but at the same time, how much is enough? I mean, how much do you need to make in order to be happy in life and live life? Because it shouldn't all be just about work. There's got to be the other balance of, well, I need to enjoy myself too. So how big do you want to build the company before it's just like, it's a lot more responsibility, or maybe it's really big and gets away from you, or how much do you really want to work? Okay, I want to make, I want to personally be able to make $500,000 a year or something like that. Do you need to make $500,000? It would be great, but I don't know. It's really up to you. Do you mind? Do you have to drive the newest and greatest car? Are you okay with an older car? Or, do you need the bigger house? And the answer could be yes, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that answer. But what makes you happy in life? And then grow the business to the point that it makes you happy, and then sustains your lifestyle in the way you want it. And hey, look, if you can make it bigger, what's the other reason? Why would you want to make the business any bigger than that? And you think about that for a while, and it might be, well, in one aspect, my focus has changed. I really enjoyed helping customers, and I really enjoyed making sure that the their electrical system is safe and reliable, and it provides them what they need. Well, now I've grown the business to the point where, what, I don't get in front of the customer like ever. You know, all of my people get in front of the customers. So now what is my drive? My drive is to educate my guys. I pour into my guys and they pour into the customers. Mm-hmm. So it's really about, making sure the guys get the education that they need in order to be able to serve the customers very well. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the fact, and that's one of the biggest things about the people that work for me. Sometimes it's like, oh, is it the 401k? Is it the health benefits? What are the benefits? And the biggest thing is, the guys have all told me it's the education, it's the classroom time, it's the learning how to do it. I was just, I got into the trade and someone told me to do this because that's what you do, but I didn't know why I did it. And now I understand why I do it. Now I understand I can make the decisions on how to install something because I know what to do. And you don't get that from anywhere other than paying to go to school. But at my company, we do. And I really enjoy being able to teach the guys, why it is they're doing the electrical work that they do, and also give them perspective of why do we want to help the customers the way that we do, so growing that part is what drives me, is to be able to, and that's what really I enjoy. Now, it's gotten to the point where the systems all in place have gotten to the point where it's like, hey, I'm happy and I'm making enough money, but it's not a headache. It's not like, oh, this is getting crazy ridiculous and I'm juggling too many balls or anything else like that. But now we have that operating excellently. We can expand and just keep getting bigger and bigger. And again, it's not about, for me, it's not about, well, I need to grow X amount. I need to get so many more trucks on the road. I need to get, we just need to make sure we're servicing our customers well. Our guys all the people are treated well in the company. They're all making good money. It's awesome to see, employees that you've provided something for them they can buy houses and they can support their families. And that's really awesome to me that we're able to do that. So, so for me, that's kind of a little bit more of, I guess, a little bit more of my why, as far mm-hmm. as for why I do what I do. And how big do you really want to get? Well, I want to get big enough to at least just support my family and do what I need to do, and maybe, do traveling and again, plan out what is the exit strategy? Where do you want to be at the end of your life, and planning that out. That's kind of where I'm at.
So for you, it's almost like when I said the two paths, you have like a hybrid. Basically, you're scaling, but you're not like scaling itself is not a goal. It's just like almost like a byproduct of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really what it's got to be. It's definitely got to be a byproduct of serving the customer well. And if we're doing a really good job, then we're gonna grow. So.
Yeah. And then just a couple other points about that. You mentioned you didn't use the word outsource, but basically move the hats off of yourself onto somebody else, like whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's marketing, other things. And it's important to know which hats to put on somebody else as well, right? Like if you have a mm-hmm. core part or service that you provide, you don't really want to outsource your core thing,
right?
Because that's what the business is all about, and you just want to kind of outsource or move those other hats, like the auxiliary kind of hats, like marketing and bookkeeping, or I don't know. There's so many other ones.
There are, and again that becomes a challenge, mm-hmm. For someone that, hey, look, again, I am an electrician. I am not a business owner. I'm not trying to figure out who's going to be the best at marketing and who's going to be the best at this and who's going to be it's kind of like, it's not really in my skill set. So you really have to, it's a lot of learning. I mean, it's basically you're a master at being an electrician, but I'm an apprentice at being a business owner. You know, I didn't go to school for this. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, it's kind of like, yeah, I think I'm going to need some help here to kind of try and figure out this part. So, you know,
Do you ever get into it seems like a lot of entrepreneurs get into this mindset of I have to do everything myself kind of a thing. Do you run into that sometimes where it's like, well, I feel like I can't trust somebody else to do this or that, and
sometimes I do with certain things, but then, I just got to let some of those things go, and then sometimes it's a matter of, hey, look, I just got to let's see how this works. Maybe this person is, you know, prepared, and am I going to give something to someone that is prepared to do it? You know, it may not be the best choice. You know, hiring a manager for all the guys. Maybe they're excellent electricians, but are they good managers? Can they manage the guys to be able to get the expectations out of them? You know, I mean, it's a different skill set. So,
yeah.
you know, so it's being able to give a lot of other employees and other people, you know, some grace. Maybe things don't work out the way that they, you know, very well. And it's a matter of just having that discussion and talk about it, you know, to see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of certain routines in your life that you go by on a regular basis that help you to become more successful in your daily kind of life?
Any routines? You know, I try to pick up new routines. You know, I just started exercising about 3 months ago, 4 days a week. That's a new routine for me. You know, again, I was out in the field. You're climbing a ladder every single day. You end up with, you know, being pretty fit. Then you sit behind a desk. You know, so you know, health wise, you know, you start putting on a little weight. So that's a matter of, you know what, if you're in. I knew that I was able to think better, clearly, when I was in better shape. So it's a matter of, okay, now I got to have a new routine of taking care of myself, you know, and then there's the routine of making sure that, you know, you have a coach of some sort, business coach, you know, the routine of making a schedule to hold yourself accountable. And that's the tough part. Being a business owner, it's really tough holding yourself accountable because there's nobody else that's going to hold you accountable. That's it, you know? So, and constantly trying to strive to improve and make yourself better. What is the newest and latest audiobook that you just, you know, that you read? You know, what are you pouring into yourself? You know, that's kind of what it is that I also look into as well. So audiobooks, you know, visiting with coaches, that kind of thing. My faith as well, you know, is also very important. Taking that time off on a, you know, at least on a Sunday and going to church, it kind of resets me for the rest of the week. That's also something that's been very important to me. You know, getting time to spend with your family too. That's another part too. So it can't always be about work, and even though it feels like it is sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
What you mentioned, business coach. Are you regularly like in contact with a business coach currently, and if you are, what is that relationship like, or coaching like?
You know, I think. I've been in business now for like 15 years, right? And so the first 10 was pretty much broke. Just pretty much broke, you know. You know, money in, money out. Didn't quite understand the books part. Didn't understand the financial end. I knew the mechanical end perfectly, you know. So there was one point in time where, you know, there was an organization that had come by, and, you know, they travel around the country, and they turn around and they say, like, hey, look, you know, we help, you know, trade businesses become more successful, become the business owner, you know. So So again, at that point in time, I remember my wife, she wasn't involved in anything at all. Okay. But these folks were coming by and they were like, look, we're going to give you a day's worth of training. It's going to be at this hotel and we're even going to give you a steak dinner. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this ain't going to be cheap. This is not going to be cheap. Whatever this is, and I don't know what this is, but it's not going to be cheap, but I'm interested. And it was one of the few times that I actually invited, I was like, Nikki, come on, they're gonna show us something, and I know it's not going to be cheap, whatever it is, and I just need your help to decide whether or not this would be a good thing or not, you know? So we went down and we listened to the spiel, and it was like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to invest it. It was a lot of money. I don't know if we really want to invest this. Are we going to drink the Kool-Aid? What is this all going to be about? And we had decided, well, you know, I can't keep going the way I'm going right now, you know, with all the hours that we're doing. I definitely need help on the business side. So let's try it out. Let's see what happens. And it was probably one of the better decisions that I ever made. Absolutely. So, you know, so I got involved with these folks, and we became profitable. And they had systems. It's not a franchise or anything else like that, but they say, we recommend you do these things this way, and we can help you to do these things. Oh, and this is how you track the books. This is how it all works. So there are coaches that are accountants. There are ones that will teach you about HR stuff. There's different ones that will teach you, you know, best practices and how to communicate effectively with homeowners. And here's a pricing system. This is how you should be a business that's going to be successful and profitable, so that you can scale and grow. So there's a lot of different ones, and there's a lot of different programs with it. Like one of them, which is pretty cool, is we get the business coach that comes on with us once a month, and I'm like on a Zoom call with like 6 other businesses owners like myself, and we go through. Each one of us goes through our numbers for the prior month. We talk about any of our struggles. We talk about, you know, any thoughts that we have. And because when you're a business owner, it's lonely at the top. Who do you talk to? You know what I mean? You got to talk to friends that have jobs that don't own businesses, and it's like they don't quite get what you're talking about. You're not going to talk to your employees about it. So it gets lonely at the top. So when you get to talk to other business owners, it helps out a lot. And the whole community is really nice because you get to talk to a lot of other people. It's like, I would really love to be at that point where I had 75 employees, and you can go visit that company, and it's like an open door, and they will sit down with you, and they will, you know, other businesses will talk to you about anything and everything, like open book. What do you need to know? How can I help you? And it really makes a huge difference.
What's that organization?
It's called Certain Path. So is what it's called. They help out. They only work with 4 trades: electricians, plumbers, roofers, and air conditioning. That's it. That's all they work with. And they're a huge organization. And there's multiple parts with it that they've got a lot going on, between buying power to be able to buy your products and stuff and get discounts and rebates, as well as again, the coaching part is probably the biggest part of it. So.
And how did you, like in the beginning, you mentioned you brought your wife to that first meeting, and it's always hard in the beginning, like especially if you're not making as much as a business owner, or if the ticket item looks expensive in the beginning. So then it's like, do I really want to invest X amount of thousands of dollars when I feel like I don't know if it's going to return on investment, you know, if it's going to provide anything. So, like, how did you end up jumping into it?
You know, they're pretty wise and they're pretty smart about this. But during that, they call it a profit day, you know, when you're in there. And what they do is they usually, when they go around, they'll ask other members that live in your area, you know, to jump in for a small portion of that meeting just to do a testimonial. And I think it was the testimonial. There was a husband and wife team. They were plumbers in Gastonia that came in, and you could definitely tell that the husband did not, you know, he wasn't very well at speaking, and it was really rough. I mean, if I don't know stereotype or anything, but if you could say redneck, I mean these guys, these couple were, you could definitely tell, were definitely not business owner mentality type of people. And then when I found out what they were doing with 2 trucks, and they said last year in revenue, we did, over $400,000 in revenue, and here I am running around new builders and everything else. And I'm like, I've got 4 trucks running around and I only did 600,000, and it's like with half, they did more with half than I did. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And I'm just, they, especially the husband was kind of, he was really fumbling over himself during this interview. So, and you could just tell the sincerity that they had, and it was, and they swore by it, and they said, yeah, it was the best thing they ever did. And so, you think, hey, the smarts part of the business can be really hard. The bookwork part can be really hard. That part, and if these guys can do it, oh, we could definitely do it. We could definitely make this thing happen. That's what pretty much made us believe that, okay, if they've bought into it and they could do it, then I think that we could do it. Yeah. So so that's what made us. We chose to jump in. We basically we really had hardly any money at all, to even get into this thing, and it was like we had the finance to get involved and everything else, and it was like, prior to doing this, it was always, hey, look, I don't really get to go to work the day before payroll because I'm too busy on the phone chasing down contractors and property managers and everyone to collect enough money for payroll the next day. You know what I mean? And literally half the time payroll was made, I never took a paycheck. There was not enough money in the bank. There wasn't. I would take a disbursement when I could, when there finally did get enough money in the bank, And so it really didn't work out. I got involved with those folks. We got our systems in place. I've never missed a payroll ever. And it's just, it was night and day difference to be able to have that financial breathing room and to be able to, again, make enough money so we could scale and grow, and also make sure that we have happy customers that, really like our service. So that's what they were able to do to help us out. So
yeah, and you mentioned earlier faith. You rely on your faith in your life. How is faith integrated in your business life? Like, how do you? I don't know if it's the right word, but how do you leverage, or how do you? How does faith kind of integrate or work through in your business?
Well, I guess it really helps me to make decisions, keeping you grounded, It's there are a lot of hard decisions to make, a lot of things that happen, and so it really comes down to, like, what does love require of me in this situation? Should I blow up and be angry, or should I handle this with grace? You know what I mean? So it really kind of, helps me to make the decisions on a daily basis. Is kind of what I think it gets for me. That's, I guess it's I don't know.
Do you find yourself kind of being more risk tolerant in terms of, like, having faith to jump, like even this coaching thing, right? It's kind of risky in the beginning, but is faith in some ways, like, helping you in, like, making the right decisions in that sense?
I mean, I get, it does. I guess that I don't know if it's my personality, or if it's, I think I've got a lot more, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know if it's that, or if it's that I'm not too worried about the money part, when I gets to, like, when I got into business for myself, I think the most exciting thing was that I could go to work, and I could work, like, hey, I'm going to work 12 hours and I'm going to kill it. And you know what? I'm going to make $5 today for the 12 hours that I just worked, and I'm okay with that. But the next day I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to work 2 hours, and I'll make over $1,000 in 2 hours, and I'm cool with that too. It's just the, hey, look, what can I do? And it's like the challenge, you know what I mean, of being able to, what can I do and how can I produce it, kind of thing. So for me, it's always it's an adventure, not a, you know, I don't think I could do this, if I was pissed off at every time something went wrong. You're not going to last very long. Don't get into business for yourself. I think that most people think that sometimes that, hey, look, I've always worked for someone and I've always get paid for the hours that I work and that's it. Well, you're not always going to collect the money that you invoice out. You know what I mean? They call it shrinkage. You're not always going to collect it. Some people just aren't going to pay you sometimes, and you got to be okay with that, But, it's kind of like, yeah, it's, I don't know if it's faith, but it's also, you got to make sure that you're wise in the decisions that you make, It's like, okay, I do a lot of small jobs. Hey, there's this big, huge job. If I take this big, huge job and it pays, it's gonna launch me. This is gonna be it. This is gonna be awesome. Okay, and what happens if you take a job and they don't pay? Will you survive? Yeah. And if the answer is no, I won't survive, then I won't take the job. Then that's what it is. That's would be my motto, and that's what I would do in the past. So,
yeah. Do you find that you are a curious person where you want to learn more or find new information about whatever you're doing, or
yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as far as which direction are we going to go? What are we going to do? Do we want to get into solar energy? I don't know. Let's take a 40-hour class. Let's learn a little bit more about it. Let's see what we can do about it, and see how that fits in, and see if it works for us. Or maybe is there some other type of we got invested a little bit with this other company called KVAR, that would, help lower your electric bill for, commercial places and stuff. So we got involved with that for a while. We got, but yeah, you're always got to look for different opportunities all the time. We're always interested in doing that kind of thing, Sometimes it's just a matter of looking at, asking other people before jumping in. It's a matter of just trying to ask people the questions before you jump into something, It's like you're saying, oh, what's that fork in the road, Sometimes you get to that fork in the road and don't go left, don't go right. Just stay there for a minute. Eventually, someone's going to come down the other road, come back down that one road and say, you don't go this way. You want to go that way, So, again, it's just you want to be asking people, Yeah. So.
Do you find that you're just kind of naturally curious, or do you sometimes have to kind of make yourself be curious about things?
Naturally curious. I guess it goes both ways. I guess it depends upon what it is, what aspect it is. Like sometimes, like my wife is more about travel, and she's more about, let's go to this place. It's like, it's one thing to say, oh, let's go to Disney World. I know what to expect. Let's go to Puerto Rico. Okay, what's there? What are we going to do there? What's that all about? Let's go to Africa for something. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm not really curious. I'm just kind of like, I guess I'm just following at that point in time because she's curious, So, you
Mm-hmm.
But
what life lessons do you think that had the most significant impact on your life?
Life lessons. Gosh. I guess that's a good one. Life lessons. I know it's kind of like, I would probably say, as far as for life lessons, reap what you sow. So, and not anything is, people may make things look easy, but behind the scenes, it's a lot of work. Life is a lot of work, and I think the more struggles you go through, the the stronger you're going to be, the wiser you're going to be about a lot of things, and it's I think that generally it's get out there and try something. I tend to try and look at people that are farther ahead of me in life than where I'm at. It's always easy when you go back and you start looking at, you start hearing people, when you're in your 20s and someone turns around and says, oh, you better start saving. You better start saving for retirement. You could care less about retirement at that point in time. You know what I mean? When you're 13, 14, you're not saving for a car. You could care less about that. That's years and years down the road. You never look at that kind of stuff. But what do people do when they get to a certain age, and what regrets do they have that, you could be turning around and be like, okay, let me plan for that so I don't have that regret. Let me do something in that, and let's see what happens. I look at myself today and I'm just kind of like, okay, I never planned on being a business owner. I never planned on owning a company, even the size that it is now. I never planned on even living in the house that I live in. Okay, I never thought I'd ever be able to afford or have a house the size that we do today. And again, it's not that it's really that super important to me. I'm happy living in a trailer almost. You know what I mean? I really don't. But I guess it's just. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on one specific thing that says to answer your question. It would be something I'd probably have to think about a little bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
How about in terms of having a fulfilling and meaningful life? Like, what are some key ingredients to that?
I think that, being able to help out others is probably the most fulfilling thing. I really think that that's awesome. There was one time where it was like, well, where do you get enjoyment? It's like, hey, look, helping your kids get something or achieve something is awesome. Helping out other people, for me, I think is really awesome. I remember there was the one time a couple years ago where we went out to someone's house, and their main electrical panel, actually fuse panel, it was dead, and there really wasn't much we could do with it. They were half out of power, and then when we got there, it was so bad that they were completely out of power after we looked at it, and we really wanted to help these people out. We'd really try, and they had absolutely nothing, and we could tell they had absolutely nothing to do, and it was an expensive job to replace this electrical service, and I'm trying to, okay, let's try financing, let's try any type of credit they could do. What else could we do? And it just got to the point where it was a little bit frustrated with myself trying to help these people out that we couldn't do it, and it was bad enough to the point where this has only happened twice in being in business in 15 years, where it was like we literally have to call the electrical inspector and just let him know that this is so bad that, the house could start on fire, that we just have to, they're going to have the power cut to their house, Wow. And that's pretty substantial, and that's something that I didn't want to do. And so I called the electrical inspector. I let him know what was going on. And it got to the point where, I was on the phone with the electrical inspector, and he was like, are you really sure that this is that bad? Because I hate to have to cut the rest of the power off to their house. And I'm like, it's, legally, I have to let you know, because if I don't let you know and their house catches on fire, I'm legal and I can be thrown in jail, and that's, and I hate the fact that it got to that point. And when I was on the phone with him, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not, don't worry about it. I'm just going to go change their electrical service tomorrow. It's Saturday. I'm just going to go do it. I'm not going to charge them. We're just going to get it done, And he was just like, wow, okay, that's awesome. I mean, oh, okay, all right, that's good. So, and then I just called the people, and it was like a relief that came off of me. And I was like, I'm going to go down there tomorrow, and I'm going to go change this service, and, and get this whole thing done. And then next thing I know, I had two of my guys, and they turn around and they're like, we'd like to donate our time and we want to go do it. So you don't have to go do it. You know what I mean? That's what we want to do. And I'm like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. And I was like, okay, not a problem. And then later on that day, I called City Electric and I was like, hey, look, I need I need a panel and I need some of this stuff. I need to get all this stuff together. And the supplier was like, all right, is that everything you need for this order? And I was like, yeah, that's everything I need. I didn't say anything to them at all. And they were like, oh, one of your guys already called and let us know what you were doing. And we want to donate all the material for this job. So it was like, that was really, really cool. And so it got to the point where it's like, okay, I guess I'll supply the permit. You know what I mean? And so, to me, it felt like, imagine seeing someone drowning and someone that's equal to your size, and you're going to jump in and go and try and save this person, but that person might just drown you. You know what I mean? You don't know. But then all of a sudden you have like 3 other people that jump in with you to help save this person. And that was really, really cool. And I really,
you just
really
needed to take that first step.
Exactly. And then everyone else came around, and that was really cool. And again, it wasn't like, yeah, we could definitely afford to do this job, and it's not going to hurt us at the end of the day. But it was just, you knew that these people really needed the help, and so it's that really brings a lot of joy that we were able to do that for those people.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
So from there, we've also we advertise with like Habitat for Humanity. We've done work for them in the past, and they've got on a short list, and we've got some. When those folks give us a call, we know who they are because we can tell based on a telephone number that they call in on, and then we have a dedicated budget where we just go out and help those folks out. You know what I mean? And until the budget is done for the year. So,
Nice.
And for me, it's like I also hope that I have that for my guys to go do too, because our guys basically, when our guys go out to people's homes, they talk with the homeowners, they come up with the price, they do the job, they collect the payment, they do everything when they're there. And so for them, sometimes it's a little odd when it's like, you're going to go to a job and you're going to go out there and you're going to go do the work and you're going to go help these people out and you're not going to collect anything. You know what I mean? And it's like really weird for them in one aspect. And that's part of, hey, that's part of, like, for me, it's like tithing at church or something. It's giving money to the church. It's like God doesn't need your money. He owns everything already. What he wants from you is he wants you to be generous, is really what he wants. You know what I mean? Just like you raise your kids and you say, I want you to be respectful of people, sir, ma'am, thank you, please, that kind of thing. Well, on top of that, God wants you to be generous. And that's why, he asks you to tithe. That's why he asks you to do other things, is to be generous to one another. And that's what it's really about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. So another question related to advice. If you were to give yourself, your younger self, advice, what would that be?
Advice would be, I would pretty much just say, you know what? I would probably say, as far as for business, I would be like, get a business coach. Don't think you know it all, because you don't. You absolutely do. You know nothing. I'll just put it to you that way. You know nothing. And specifically, if you can, try and find someone to mentor you that is in your industry. And then once you feel as you've learned enough, or you've learned as much as you can, find someone else. Because that's really the business-wise or career-wise. Having someone to help you and show you the ropes that is in the trenches themselves, that's the best you can get. That's really going to be the best you're ever going to get, to be able to go from there,
Yeah. So kind of going back to now the electrical field.
Yes.
Tell the audience a little bit more about the industry, like I mean, there's commercial electricians or electrical work. There's residential. There's like all kinds of things. What are like the different actors in terms of like contractors, suppliers, subcontractors, like all that kind of ecosystem? Whatever you can share with that.
For me, when you get into the electrical trade, again, it's like super broad. You can go in so many different directions. I mean, yes, there is residential wiring houses, and then there's commercial wiring big buildings. Those are the, you know, those are the two main focuses that most people get into. And then the third would be more like industrial work. So industrial is more, just like places that the public usually doesn't go. These are your factories and wastewater treatment plants and just really big stuff. From there, there's service work that you could do. There are specialties as far as for just like fire alarm systems. You could just focus and just dive and just do that only. The security, there's lightning protection. There are certain companies, and that's pretty much all they do is they travel around the country putting lightning protection systems on big like skyscrapers and things like that. So that's like a different interest. Solar, that's a whole other animal that you can do. You got to be a cross between being an electrician and a roofer. Not all electricians are good at being on roofs. But there's a lot of different areas. There's been places where it's taken a crew of like 4 of us a month to wire one machine. And we get this one machine wired, and then they have a person that flew from another country here, and their job is to press the start button. And they press the start button, and then they dial the entire machine in, and they adjust all the drives. They do all the adjustments to make the machine work the way it's supposed to. So it really gets into some specific things. Control work is another one that that they do. Just imagine, I'm sure you've brought your car through a car wash. Look at all the different things that have to happen. You have to program or wire these things so that all these machines do what they do, and they spray and they do the soap and they do the rinse and the brushes happen. And then what happens if something goes wrong? Where are you going to do the emergency stops and things like that? All of that needs to be wired all in and done. So there's a lot of different avenues I guess you could go with electrical. Mm-hmm. So whether it is you like to travel, everything literally from like the carnival. Okay. There are electricians that they travel with the carnival, you know what I mean? And there are traveling electricians that do other things too. I mean, that you can travel around the country and do electrical work if you want to. You could be working for, a company where they just, hey, look, I'm an electrical contractor and I've got, 5 guys, but I need some temps. So you could work for a temp agency where, you go around, you help out one company for a little while versus another company. There's the whole part of, do I go work for a union or do I work non-union? What are the pros and cons of that? And that's just something more or less you just got to kind of figure out for yourself, and you got to find out, what works for you and what's good for you, Yeah, it's kind of
a very broad field.
It is.
When it comes to residential electrical work and electricity, what are some safety precautions or things that homeowners should do, like in terms of maybe doing their own kind of visual inspection to make sure things are how they should be, or just advice on keeping your home safe?
That's a really good question, because we actually have a little program that we do with homeowners when we go to their home, and when we do we may be doing some sort of a service or something like as simple as installing a ceiling fan. We will also give them the option of, hey, look, for no additional cost, we can do a safety evaluation of your home. This is something, part of this you could do yourself, that you've never done. Mm-hmm. How about trying to push the button on the smoke detectors to see if they all go off? When's the last time you've ever done that in your home? And I feel like, no, probably never. there are these test and reset buttons on certain outlets, usually in the kitchen and bathroom. When's the last time you've ever pushed the test button and reset? Because the manufacturer says you're supposed to do that every 30 days. When's the last time you've ever done that? Like, never, you know? There are some breakers that have been around now for over 20 years that are in homes. If your house has definitely been built within the last 20 years, there are some breakers in there in your electrical panel that have test buttons on them. You know, when's the last time you ever pushed those to see if they actually work, and will trip the breaker to see if that protection is there? Most people, no, never. They don't do any of that stuff. I would probably say, as far as for what do I think is the biggest hazard in a home that you really have to watch out for, I would probably say are people with swimming pools, in-ground swimming pools. And if you've got a light in them, you know what? You want to make sure there's a device somewhere with a test and reset button on it that you want to make sure that works. And at least every year when you open your pool, you want to be able to hit that test button and watch those lights in the pool go out. Because this is a protection where once the water mixes with electricity, things can go really bad when you're in the pool. So I don't know it's like a torture chamber, if you ask me. You could be drowning and paralyzed at the same exact time while being electrocuted. You know, wow. I mean, really, there is a piece of glass with a rubber gasket between you and 120 volts. You know, so if that protection's not there and that seal ever breaks, water gets into that fixture, and they do. You know, is that breaker going to trip, or is that GFI device, is it going to trip so that you don't end up in that position? So that's between that and hot tubs, I would pretty much say they have those devices, and they should be checked monthly. You know, but some people don't even know they exist or they're even there. And these are some of the things that, you know, our guys will show people and be, you know, this is the reason why. You know, yeah. Even if they say, oh, those are low voltage lights in the pool. No, those will kill you too. So the low voltage ones, you know, because the resistance of your body is extremely low when your body is wet. You know, have you ever held a 9-volt battery in your hand and then put it on your tongue? Different experience, right? Yeah. Your tongue is wet. So if you have 12-volt lights in your pool, you know, your body's wet. You're going to feel it. Your body will feel up to 2 volts of electricity, and you'll feel that going through your body when you get in and out of the pool sometimes. And we've had people that call us about that too. I feel like I'm getting electrically shocked every time I get in and out of my pool. And we can go down there and we can find the problem and get that corrected. You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah. What about in terms of the trades? A lot of times, or sometimes, get a bad rap because of bad contractors. What are some kind of red flags of electricians who are not good contractors that homeowners should watch out for?
Gosh, you know, I think that, you know, whether you're going to hire, you know, Chuck in a truck, Dan in a van, a one-man band kind of thing, I don't see that there's anything wrong with hiring that person because they're just trying to start out. But you want to get referrals on that person. You want to try and see who else has used them. You know, those types of things. I think that when someone's just starting out, it can be, it can be a little bit more business risky for someone to hire that person. How about someone that says, we're gonna do this work and we're not going to pull any permits at all? Okay, well, who's to say they're going to do it correctly? You want a third party. You want someone else looking at that work to make sure that it's right. It's electricity, you know. So, yeah. You know, that's another thing that you can do too. So, you know, usually as companies get bigger, there's reviews that I would look at. And I think a lot of people use reviews. I think a lot of businesses are no longer getting away from the Better Business Bureau because, well, that was your only source of being able to get a review back in the day. Now today with Google, I mean, it's, you know, look at businesses and, you know, and just don't, you know, if you get people that say, hey, I know so-and-so, they're an electrician, I would probably say get someone that you know is you've used before, not just because they're your friend. You really want to get a lot of reviews because we do get a lot of a bad rap as far as for contractors. It's kind of bad, sad in one aspect, but when people go to prison and they go through a reform, what is the number one trade that is out there that prisoners end up learning to get out into the field? It would be plumbing. And then after that, the second one is air conditioning, and then it is electrical. Depending upon what you go to jail for or something, it really, maybe these guys are all going to be suited for new construction, but it's kind of tough when you want to start hiring these people to be in your home, what do you do? You're in someone's home. You want to make sure that you've got good, reputable people. In my company, everyone's gone through a drug test and a background check. Everyone. So that's important to us because as me as a business owner, it's important. Who am I sending to your house? That's really important. So, other than that, red flags. You know what? You want someone that's going to be neat and clean. Do they drive up? Do they got a ton of garbage all over their dashboard? Are they really messy? They open up their doors to their vehicle and stuff just comes pouring out. If they treat their vehicles and their stuff that way, how are they going to treat your house? You want to, even it may be an old vehicle and that's fine. But if it's in good working order, if the person that you're dealing with is, if they look, the part, they're groomed well, I think that is a good indicator of a good contractor if they present well. That's at least a good start. They usually say that, hey, look, how long does it take someone? It takes someone like what? How many? Just a few seconds. The first time you meet someone, have already decided whether they're going to do business with you or not based on your image and how you present yourself. So
first impressions.
First impressions. Your gut feeling, go with it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your company, what services you provide, and whatever else you want to share about your company.
All right. Well, we've got 5 service trucks that go out every single day to service the community. We really don't do any like new construction. We do mainly service and repair. So if the lights go out, we come out there, we get them fixed. We also will enhance lights or make things brighter. If some people are like, I need security lights installed, we do those things as well. We wire all the toys, hot tubs, pools, EV car chargers. We do all of that as well. Anything basically that's in your home that you either want to work better or is not working, we take care of those things. We're also a Generac certified dealership as well as a service center as well. So with these whole house generators, you probably see them at Lowe's and Home Depot. They sit outside your house like an air conditioner, and they're there for battery backup. And I'm sorry, not battery backup, just backup power. Your power goes out, the thing automatically turns on by itself and backfeeds your house with electricity so that you've always got power. So any electrician could pretty much put those things in, but if you're not an authorized service center, you can't get any warranty work done. And there's a lot of other training that goes along with that. So there's 5 of us that have been trained specifically by Generac. We've gone down to the facility in Florida and spent some time at their facility to learn how to maintain these things because, there's, whether we install it or not, it still needs to be maintained. There's spark plugs, air filters, oil changes, valve adjustments, software updates. There's all kinds of things that need to be done with this generator on an annual basis. And we've got programs for people to help them out with those things, so that's been one of our key points that we've really gone with as far as for backup power. If people don't like that, we also educate people, hey, look, yeah, it's an expensive option. We do what we call our interlock systems, where you can just use a portable construction generator to back up your house. You're not going to get as much. Air conditioning's not going to run. You'll get every single light and plug working again in your house, and you can get most of the comfortabilities of home. If you've got gas heat, you'll have heat, during an ice storm, But we go over that with people, and we let them know the limitations of what each one can be, backup power source can and can't do. I think that one of our biggest things that we really pride ourselves on is being able to educate the homeowners in a non-technical level, and getting really crazy with the things, and being able to look at, and we try to look at, is there at least 3 different ways that we can help you come with a solution to whether it's, the problem that you have or the thing that you want to enhance and make better. And we let people have the choice of how they want it done. So at the end of the day, they get exactly what it is that they want. I think the other thing that we also do too is very well is we do what we call our straightforward pricing. So we figure out exactly what you want, the way you want it done, and we talk about the price. And the price is the price. And we get it done, and whether it gets done in 2 hours or 2 days, at the end of the day, it's going to be exactly what we told. There's no hidden fees. There's no surprise charges, and I think that people really like that a lot better. We've found that it makes it a lot easier for homeowners and for the electricians. Mm-hmm. So that's also been a great benefit too, in how we do business. The fact that we've always got someone that answers the phone. It's crazy, when you start talking about that. How no one answers the phone, or people make appointments and they don't show up, So we hear a lot of that, and so we like to stay in constant communication. We have folks in the office. You get a live person that answers the phone every single time, whether it be 2 a.m. or it is 2 p.m. You're going to get a live person to answer the phone, and there's always that constant communication of, hey, look, here's a window of time that we'll be at your house between, between 1 and 3 o'clock. We're not like the cable company between 8 and 5. Mm-hmm. We'll be there between 1 and 3, and then we'll send out a text message to letting the homeowners know that, hey, look, here's a picture of Matt, and here's a little bio of who Matt is, so you know exactly who's going to be approaching your door. There's a labeled truck, so it's not the mysterious white van, with no name on it or anything, and a person that's going to come, and you already know what they're going to look like, and you'd be surprised how many people actually really appreciate that. That's absolutely huge. Yeah. That people really like that kind of stuff, It gives them it's that sense of security. And again, mm-hmm. These are individuals that we know and are in our company very well. We don't subcontract out at all. We don't hire other electricians to do what we do. It's all in-house, and we go out there, we use the best products we possibly can, and we deliver, again, satisfaction guaranteed. And if you're not satisfied, we will work at it until you are satisfied, So, challenging customers are good. We welcome challenging customers too. So,
yeah. And how can people find you and your company?
Well, you can find us. You can find us on the web. Our website is getthebestelectric.com. The company name is GB Electrical Services. You can find us there too. Our telephone number is 980-500-BEST or 980-500-2378. That's the best way to get a hold of us in order to set up any service that you'd like. We can offer you, if you even have a question, give us a call, and we'd be happy to talk to you on the phone too, with any questions that you may have. And if you need us to come out and come take a look at something, we're more than happy to do that as well.
Yeah. And one last question: what does the world need more of today?
What does the world need more of today? I think it needs more. I think it needs more unity. I think that's what it really needs. There just seems to be so much division. Mm-hmm. I guess the news is really good at projecting that out. And I think it just needs more. People just caring about one another. Really, what it comes down to. that's what I think it really needs more of.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Greg, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. And hopefully in the future we'll have another discussion about maybe something more specific.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Yep. Take care.
All right.